This material comes from the Prayers and Code of Conduct on the Path by Reverend Dr. Reverend Gani. The lower self, also called the distorted self. It is the little self, the undeveloped self, the part of us where we are hostile, anxious, stubborn, conceited, primitive, blind, dumb, ignorant, faithless, etc. The distorted self always operates in the dark. When exposed, it reveals its utter absurdity and quickly dissolves. The distorted self also tries to intertwine itself with many beneficial aspects, thereby acquiring a certain amount of momentum, albeit finite. A distortion in and by itself dies. It can only operate if it is hidden behind a pseudo-beneficial aspect, or if it is intertwined with some beneficial aspect. Therefore, when looking at the distorted self, it is essential to apply the following steps. 1. To frame it without painting yourself into the picture. The framing of the distorted self, meaning the precise awareness of it, sometimes suffices to dissolve it. 2. To understand it without excuses, accepting without allowing. One has to have a position of beneficial neutrality towards it, an understanding that it is merely a misguided portion of the divine self. Balance, which is a function of love, must be maintained between accepting and allowing. The problem is understood and accepted. However, no excuses are given, and a resolution is adopted to dissolve it. 3. To admit the distorted self without indulging in it. There is a misconception here which says that if you admit any part of your distorted self, you are more likely to indulge in it. Nothing could be further from the truth. On the contrary, if you admit your lower self, you are less likely to indulge in it because you experience its absurdity and its harmful consequences. You also experience the fact that it will always lead you to unhappiness. The lower self is composed of the Trinity in its distortion. A. Willfulness, the distortion of the father aspect. Ray 1. This is the child's stubbornness and demands, rational or irrational. Even if a demand is made about something rational or reasonable, if it comes from the distorted self, from the lower self, it pushes fulfillment further away. One must let go of that which one wants the most in order to get it. B. Fear, the distortion of the sun aspect, Ray 2. Fear is the distortion of the greatest force in the universe, love. Therefore, fear is the worst aspect of the lower self. There is nothing vainglorious about fear. No state is more dangerous or as destructive as the state of fear. Any fear is a product of lack of faith. Behind every fear is to be found an active component of the distorted self, of the lower self, such as cruelty. Behind every fear is a cruelty. Try it. When you are afraid, see if you can find what is hidden behind the fear. If you find the cruelty, the ruthlessness, or the greed, an active component that is harmful and that is very difficult to admit, your fear will instantly stop. C. Conceit, the distortion of the mother aspect, Ray 3. This is the part that never admits any mistakes. Admitting a mistake is identified with death. Any aspect can become an object of conceit. For example, one can be conceited about one's victimization. If you'd like to read further, this book is available on our website, churchofthepath.org.